There are 168 hours in a week. We go to church for 1 hour. What about the other 167?
Cue this podcast. We're here to bring the church to you the rest of the week. I'm David Vogel, the Director of Communication here at Central Community Church.
I'm Corey Brattle, the Director of Community. We've been to the 1 hour in church. Now welcome to the other 167.
Well, we're here today for this episode with Pastor Cheri Clark. We're really looking forward to what she's going to have to talk to us about. And you've been working at the church since 1995, so that's
right.
About 25 years. That's a good chunk of time. And you are, of course, our singles and support groups pastor.
That's
so
right.
you get to work with people who are, you just really get to come alongside people when they're maybe not feeling their best. And I think that's a really admirable thing to do, because not everybody has that much compassion and care for people. So I know I appreciate you. So thank you for coming on and talking with us today.
Thank you. Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So the staff right now, we've been going through a book on gratitude, and you spoke up and said something on gratitude, and it pierced me, just thinking about how much we take for granted. And so just to start out so people can hear your story, could you tell us, I know you could speak to us for probably hours about your story because you've got an amazing one, but can you take it just a couple minutes and give us your testimony?
Absolutely. I feel like when we talk about gratitude, I feel like God has had me in this school of gratitude through all of these different challenging times. Like you said, I've been through a lot of different challenges, and I came to this church at the point of divorce, so that was the first challenge. And I was so desperate that I cried out for him, and I just surrendered everything. I just said, I don't want to live anymore, but if you want my life, you can have it. And I sincerely meant that, and he sincerely took it. And from that moment, I felt cradled in his arms, and I felt such love, and I felt like, I don't know one more thing now than I knew a minute ago, but it's okay because I don't have to anymore, because now it's up to him. And so that was my first story of gratitude. Was one day I was like, oh my goodness, God, what am I going to do? I don't know where I'm going to go, and I don't know. I'm in between jobs, and I've got 3 children, and I was just in so much anxiety. And God goes, stop, freeze the frame. And I knew exactly, we loved to watch videos, and I knew exactly what he meant, stick it on pause. And so step outside of it and look at your life in this very moment. What can you give thanks for? And so I thought, I have a roof over my head. I have 3 healthy children. I have a home. I could go on and on and on. And suddenly I was in the moment, and there was so much to thank God for in that moment. And I was fine. Yeah.
Can you tell us more, go into some of your story, like you remarried? You want to talk about him?
I married Larry, and I'd been single for 9 years when I remarried, and we were married for 9 years. And then he got brain cancer. And that was after 9 years of bliss, being married to him, and really, how you have those ups and downs in life?
Yep.
Those were 9 mountaintop. Everything was great. We were serving God together, doing mission trips to Africa, and, just really having the time of our life. And one day after coming back from Joplin disaster, the tornado that they had in Joplin, do you remember that? That summer, it was like that next week he went back out in the truck, because he was a truck driver. And he's like, I have no, what do you call that, where you can't see on the side? Vision, I can't see on the side. I almost had an accident. So we went to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor sent us to the hospital, and they diagnosed him with brain cancer. And I was devastated. And I could have just laid down and died myself, And God just told me, he goes, nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. You have today. And so I realized that. I thought, he may not die of brain cancer. We could have a car accident. We don't know the future, just because they told him he doesn't have very long to live. And so it's like, I could waste all this time worrying and being sad and grieving, or I could make the most out of it. And so God told me, he said, every day, just say, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
Yeah.
So every day, that's how we started out the day. We prayed together, And we tried to find joy in the day, and we found it, and so we enjoyed the moments. I mean, there were painful moments, there were difficult moments, but we made the most out of every day. And I think that's what the key is to being grateful is, every day there's so much to be thankful for, and we could waste it, or we could make the most out of it.
Yeah. I like what you said at the very beginning, and I kind of want to pull it out a little bit more. You were worried about things. You were anxious, and I think right now there are so many things that we can be worried about and anxious about. Just today, when we're recording this, I could fill all 5 fingers just off the top of my head with things that I'm worried about, and I know a lot of other people are worried about. But finding that gratitude over that, how do you get to that place of just being able to look beyond your worries and find that gratitude and hold on to it?
I think a little bit of it is these are opportunities when you can really get to know God, and really, I mean, when you know Him, you could be so grateful that you have a loving Father. And you can think back about all the ways that He's cared for you and loved you. You can look back through your life, and even before you knew Him, you can see His signature. You can see that He was there, and that He was so faithful. And I think that helps. And I think worship music. I love to worship. And, when you're worshiping and you're focused on Him, how does that go? The earth sort of fades away, and you look into His face, and you find that joy there, and you find that gratitude there. And so I think, just being grateful for every single thing that we take for granted. And sometimes it takes losing it to go, wow. Like right now today, I don't know about you two, but the 3 of us, we've had some quarantine time.
Yes, we have.
And so, today we can say we're thankful to be here.
Yes, we are.
We are actually thankful to be at work, right?
Yes.
Yes. So we're talking about quarantine, but 2020 has been just a roller coaster for probably most people.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you can just to encourage people and to be able to find that gratitude even through 2020?
Yeah. Well, I think God never wastes our pain. And, my story, I'm thankful for, like you said, the opportunities I get to work in because I get to work with people who are also going things that I've been through.
Yeah.
And He's given me the victory. And so, right now He's giving us victories that we may not be able to see it. We may not be able to understand it, but we know that He's with us. And every day He makes it possible. The 3 of us went through quarantine, and we got through it, And so He's faithful. Whatever we go through, He's going to be there on the other side of it. And so, that's the big thing, is to be thankful that we're not going through this alone. And then our brothers and our sisters in Christ, they mean so much to us. And yet we can take them for granted too.
Yeah.
And so right now, unfortunately, I know 2 people who've died of COVID, and that kind of breaks my heart. But it's like to just celebrate their life, to think, wow, God, thank you so much that I got to know these people. And then the people that are around me today, God, what's really important? I used to be so materialistic. And things just aren't that important to me anymore. People are important, and those relationships are eternal. And so to spend the time that we have today, and rather than, like, I was a person that would always run after the next thing on my to-do list, kind of that overachiever, got to make straight A's at school type of person,
I was never that person.
Really? And now I'm like, it's not about that. And when all is said and done, it's not going to be about that. And so let's just slow down. And I think that's part of 2020. Let's slow down and be grateful and enjoy the moments. And, God's got something great for us in 2021, but let's not waste this year either, be moaning some of the things we're disappointed about or some of the things that haven't worked out. And let's look at how can we make the most out of it. All of us have learned so much that we had never done before. I had never done a Zoom call before.
Now you've done too many of them.
Yes. But, I have a support group that meets on Tuesday night, and there's 10 of us. And they're there almost every Tuesday night. And even now, we're Zooming.
Wow.
And that's what we're doing. And we've learned how to make that work because they don't live in Wichita. And Central Community isn't just meeting people in Wichita. You don't have to come to this church now in order to connect with the people.
I love that.
We're connecting with people that are in Western Kansas and Eastern Kansas, all over. And so God's just stretching us and bringing new opportunities our way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really, talking about 2020, we can go back so easily to that scripture that you referenced. This is the day the Lord's made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. There are other days that are much easier to rejoice in, but we can rejoice in this one. And there's a lot of gratitude just in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the little things, Today is a day that I brought my little grandson to the CCP preschool, and then I took him home, and right now my daughter's without a car, so I do a lot of Uber driving right now until she gets another car. So
Probably not quite as lucrative.
it feels like that. It's my second job right now. But it's those little moments, when he's showing me something from his backpack that he took home, and it's just those little simple little moments, and those are the things that we cherish. And when we look back, that's what made this day such a good day.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we can all do, if you're listening, watching, me included, is to start that gratitude journal.
Absolutely.
And write down the littlest things
Yeah.
that you can be grateful for, and do maybe like 5 each day, and just see how God just blesses you.
Yeah.
And just write all those down. So I think that's kind of a challenge for me, is to
Absolutely.
get that gratitude journal going. And what better time, since we're going to be celebrating Thanksgiving,
Yep.
and just be grateful for what we have. So thank you. I always love hearing your story and just how God has used your testimony to change lives. So thank you for being here. We really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Thank
Pastor
you.
Cheri.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to 167. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you're listening from.
And to keep up with everything at Central Community Church, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you want to watch us record this podcast live, find us on YouTube.
We think the 167 hours between church services are so important, and we hope you'll share this episode with your friends. Join us next week.